Michael. Well, hi.
This is my group here.
All right. Well, cool.
We have the former candidate of the Green Party for the first district, Chris Henry, who's right behind me.
Oh, okay. How you doing?
He's here
Good.
and is representing the Green Party. And there's me, the candidate for the third district, and my two underlings.
Yes.
And we've got the banner for the party out here.
Good.
Showing that the Green Party is happy to participate in and delighted to make an appearance on this worthy cause on this important day.
You betcha, Michael.
Show of presence.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I like it.
And thank you for recording it.
You bet. All right, guys.
And the people sang rejoice when their fields were glad with rain. The song of celebration from their cities overflowing. This is mine. And it shows everyone who died there. The only sacred ground. Should I stay if the dark night alone?
Okay, so you believe that terrorists flew planes into the building. Here's what I believe. I believe our government orchestrated it. I believe that our government put up, planted bombs in the building. I believe George W. Bush is a murderer. I believe that Dick Cheney is a murderer. I believe that Condoleezza Rice is a murderer. And one of the reasons they did it was so they could start their war on terror, which happened on September 12, 2001. They could go in and steal Iraq's oil, which they tried to do. And in 2003, the CIA jackals that that work for the U.S. government, via the CIA, I don't know if you ever heard about them, they couldn't persuade Saddam Hussein to give in to the strong arm of the United States. So what do they do? Yes, and how did they kill him? They invaded his country with our military, and we're still there to this day. Salem Oregon. Why are we in Iraq right now when it's a lie? The war in Iraq is a lie. Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction. Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction. Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction. We're still there. 6 years later. I'm here to serve history. For everyone, a planet jewel, warmed by the sun. Stranger and friend, reach out your hand. Lift up your voices throughout every land. Lift up your voices and make a stand. Let peace prevail o'er mountains tall, through hill and dale, throughout the world. Let peace prevail.
Hi.
Oh, they are? Okay, sorry.
Go get in the picture, Emma. Not right in front of the other sign.
I want you to join me in say one. I'm gonna
Scoot over a little bit so we can read the other side too.
there you go. Down by the riverside, down by the riverside, go way down, no sword and shield. Down by the riverside and study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no. Study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no. Walk with the Prince of Peace. I'm gonna walk with the Prince of Peace. Down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'll walk with the Prince of Peace. Down by the riverside and study war no more. Clap your hands now. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no. Study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Shake hands around the world. I'm gonna shake hands around the world.
I didn't get to see the
Down around the world, down by the riverside, and study
Hey, Michelle. We wanted to give you this, it's a little award from some of the people in Portland in thanking you for what you're doing. And it's from the Individuals for Justice. We're recognizing you as an individual. And it was from the lone vet who ran against Blumenauer, and I've been photographing him for over a year as he takes on...
Do you want this? You said you wanted it.
Yeah, so all these people did want to sign, and they all went out of their way to try to make sure you got the message that they've been supporting you, and they thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Bunch of us in Portland. Radical group of people who aren't afraid to go out and stand in public and stand up.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
So you're an honorary member. You're a hero.
Thank you.
Yeah. Huh?
Are you recording right now?
Yeah, I am.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you bet.
Thank all of you.
You bet. And it goes to all of you that are here at this vigil, too.
Yes, thank you.
Even you.
Malcolm's name's on there. This is Michelle and Malcolm. I don't know if you guys have met. How you doing, Malcolm? Yeah.
I'm glad to see you're doing good. Still out here. I haven't carted you away yet.
Not during daytime.
Oh, that's great.
Joanne Bowman present. And is she
Good
here?
to see you again, too.
Joanne
Quite a deal going on today.
I met Timothy. He has
I'm on that. Thanks for listening.
I saw him when we drove over to Simpson.
How are you
Yeah, I like
people
him.
today?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
It is enough. We're tired of these wars. We may have a new administration, but we've got the same poor policy. And it's time for us to stop it. I am so happy that you are here today. As you may know, I am Joanne Bowman. I'm going to move this mic because, I want to get out there so I can see you people. All right, that's much better. We have people from all over the state here today to make a statement here at our state capitol that we do not want to continue to support poor policy. We want our troops to stay in Oregon. There's no reason that we should be sending Oregon National Guard to Afghanistan. We need them here to protect Oregonians. We're going to hear from many speakers today. We are here today because, of course, our state legislators have a role in making sure that we keep Oregon National Guard in Oregon. And that is why we're here today with 62 organizations from around the state. We have over 37 co-sponsors and 25 endorsers of this march today. Among the co-sponsors, of course, are Veterans for Peace from Portland, Corvallis, Brandon, and Grants Pass, along with groups from Bend, from Medford, from Eugene. Oregonians are well represented today. I also want to let you know that we want to acknowledge Michelle Darr in Camp Homebound. Michelle and her supporters have been here almost non-stop since November 1st, reminding our state legislators about the National Guard deployment. And we want to take a moment to appreciate her and her supporters. Would you give her a good round of applause? If you need information about today's march, the buses, the Guard Home campaign, or just about anything else, across the street is an information booth that you can get that information. One of our key co-sponsors is KBOO 90.7 FM, community radio, and here to tell you a little about that is Jekka Soderberg, the evening news director. Where is Jenka? She's not here yet. Okay, well, as you know, I do a show on KBOO, so I can just tell you how much we appreciate KBOO co-sponsoring this event. It's always community radio that shows up to support our community. I want to take an opportunity to ask the first group of speakers to come up close to the stage, and I will introduce them now. First, we're going to hear from Benji Lewis, a community activist in Corvallis, a current war resistor, and a founding member of Iraq Veterans Against the War, Oregon. A former Marine Corps corporal, Benji served in Haditha and Fallujah in Iraq. I'm also going to introduce Maggie Ponifo. She couldn't make it? Okay. Well, let me just give a warm welcome for Benji Lewis, please. Come on over, Benji.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for showing up in the cold. My name is Benji Lewis, and I'm currently refusing to be involuntarily activated into the Marine Corps, where they have asked me to go back to Iraq for a third tour. I was enlisted in the Marine Corps for 4 years, and as stated, I served in Fallujah and Haditha in 2004 and 2005, and I was discharged nearly 2 years ago to this date. They have asked me to go back to perpetuate terrorism, and have asked me to kill innocents in order to protect my brothers and sisters again. Well, I have publicly said no, and I will continue to say no, for I see my brothers and sisters right here, right now around me. Today I represent Iraq Veterans Against the War, Oregon, as a co-sponsor and supporter of the Keep Oregon's Guard in Oregon campaign. As vets, we have concluded that the only way to right this ship is to stop making vets, to stop treating the symptoms of war, and to start working towards poisoning the roots of war. Knowledge is a first step as how do we do that. We are here today to challenge and eradicate the dominant paradigm, to challenge the legitimacy of militarism. We are refusing to participate in wars at home and abroad. The wars abroad are contemptible in and of themselves. Both the Iraq and Afghanistan wars are wars for conquest, for empire, and for the benefit of a few. And how does this happen? At home we fill ourselves with lazy and dangerous thoughts. I see workers struggling to get by, blame their fellow woes on other workers struggling to get by. Not seeing how the masters of commerce have created both of their situations and now pit them against one another. I see militarism in the anti-war movement, where too many believe there is nothing wrong with the military, only the politics behind it, as if an M1 tank has ever solved more problems than it has created. I hear the audacity of people who would call a war a good war in the face of U.S.'s despicable history in causing the mess we now claim to be cleaning up in Afghanistan. Still, we blame our problems on immigration, lack of security, foreign threats, and whatever other nonsense. As humans, we will place blame 10 times easier than we will accept responsibility. Our sense of entitlement, our stake in the system blinds us. We drink from the cup without questioning the source of the water. Our money pours into border patrols, police, military, Israel, back pockets of CEOs and politicians, and who knows whatever else. But what do? We get nothing. Tax rebates, digital TV, overpriced clothes, unemployment, PTSD, laid off teachers, and other abysmal handouts. We do know that the money is not going to schools, creating beneficial jobs, housing, or healthcare, that it is not coming back to feed us. These are some of the wars at home we must first win if we ever hope to create a better world, a safer world, a cleaner world, a world where humans are not born into the inherited sins of their forebears, a world where creative expression and meaningful lives dominate the empty spaces that wage labor and oppression previously occupied. There were no WMDs in Iraq. Saddam Hussein is no longer in power. Indeed, he is no longer living. The connection made between 9/11 and Iraq was false and perpetrated through instilling fear and racism in Americans. Yet these are the reasons cited to authorize military use in Iraq. Clearly, this authorization is invalid and outdated. Again, in Afghanistan, we authorize military forces necessary to combat the impossible global war on terror. And thus this nation has sunk to its lowest low, that we will make preemptive war on other peoples based on our ideal for world control. On Wednesday, the House Rules Committee first heard the bill, HB 2556, that simply states we Oregonians will only let our Guard be deployed legally and with restraint as intended by the Constitution. Resolutions HR 4 and SR 1 will urge the governor to use his power to prevent the use of Oregon's Guard in Empire Building. Call your representatives and senators, go to their offices, demand the bill and resolution pass. About 3,000 Oregonians in the National Guard are poised to be sent to this war despite the invalid authorizations. We need to get this bill passed now. Let us also stop fighting these wars at home. Support your neighbor, support each other, support GI resistance, support your environment, support our future generations on this planet, but be wary of empire, be wary of scapegoating, and do not support our government's intentional misallocation of our resources, human or material. We want HB 2556 passed now. Thank you.
Let's give Benji another big round of applause. It takes a lot of courage to stand up for what you believe in. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I bet we're a little cold. I bet it's a little wet. But just think about what our troops go through each and every day, standing up for us. We need to make sure that our legislative body hears us loud and clear. We want to keep our National Guard home. I want to take a moment to also thank another wonderful sponsor of today's event, Oregon Wildlife Federation. For more information, you can go to their website, OregonWildlifeFederation.org. They've helped us today with sound, transportation, and organizing this event. So give them a hand, please, for their help with today's activities. I want to take this moment to introduce Linda J. Bergen. She is the president of SEIU Local 503, OPEU. She is on leave from the Oregon Department of Education. Linda has received 2 military awards, the Outstanding Civilian Service Medal from the Department of the Army in 2004, and the Oregon Exceptional Service Medal from the Oregon National Guard in 2003. Linda has been married for 40 years to MG retired Alexander H. Bergen, who served as Oregon's Adjunct General until November 2003, and then retired after serving in the Army and National Guard for 33 years. One of her children is a full-time major in the Oregon Air National Guard. Please put your hands together for Linda Bergen, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you today as president of SEIU, the largest and most progressive union in Oregon. We lead on many issues important to most Oregonians, like capping payday loans and reducing the patient-to-staff ratio in nursing homes. Legislation we have sponsored has totally changed how we provide quality care to the elderly, the disabled, and to children in this state. Quality care at an affordable price. but I'm also a military spouse and a military mom. 6 months after we were married, my husband, a Spec 5, was sent to Vietnam, and our first child was born while he was deployed. While we were raising our 3 children in order to buy a house, he joined the Army National Guard and was often gone on various military deployments. Eventually, he rose in rank and ended up commanding the Oregon Military Department. In addition to his 33 years of military service, our son also served in the Marines, and our youngest daughter, as was mentioned before, she served in Iraq when the war broke out. She's a signal officer, and she and her husband are both employed full-time at the Oregon Air National Guard. Our other son-in-law also served in the 82nd Airborne Division of the U.S. Army. Collectively, our immediate family has served 65 years of military service so far.
All right.
My husband and I were once briefed by a 3-star general regarding how to garner public support for war. The theory was that if soldiers were sent to battle, were being deployed from the whole U.S., like they were in World War II, Americans would be more likely to favor U.S. involvement in the war because most people would know soldiers who were involved. He demonstrated where soldiers were deployed from Vietnam and Korea from military bases with lights on a U.S. map. He then lit all the lights where soldiers were deployed from during World War II. And the whole map was lit up because the National Guard units from all over the country were deployed. What the theory did not account for was that the U.S. could be engaged in a war where the people supported the soldiers, but not the war. What I know to be true, we have the greatest respect for the soldiers and for the military families who support them. The best way we can support our soldiers is to bring them home. War changes everyone who engages in it. Because of this, as a military spouse, I lobbied for mandatory counseling for all returning soldiers and their spouses. Whether or not we go to war is not determined by the military. It's determined by civilians. This is the only country in the world where that is true. Most soldiers who've been to war don't want to go back to war. When we make a decision to go to war, we need to factor in health care and benefits for soldiers who are wounded and disabled. Our care for veterans is a national disgrace, and we need to properly fund our hospitals and facilities for veterans. What is the opportunity cost for sending soldiers to war? Opportunity cost, of course, is what you could do if you didn't do something else. The $800 billion spent annually on engagements in Afghanistan and Iraq could have instead funded national health care for uninsured Americans. Of this, I'm certain. Our National Guard across all the states is left exhausted by these altercations. Employers and co-workers in the civilian workplaces of these soldiers who are deployed have run out of patience. Families are torn apart. Soldiers returning from deployments often have to reestablish relationships with their own children and with significant others. Military equipment is ruined, and what's not ruined is out of date. The ability for National Guard troops to help with domestic disasters here in Oregon and in all the other states is severely limited. Right. Disasters like floods and forest fires, earthquakes. Okay. In closing, I have a couple of quotes. This one from Hubert H. Humphrey. The moral test of government is how that government treats those who are in the dawn of life, the children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those who are in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. And then if you want peace, work for justice. That's what you're all doing today. And then one final one, and this is from a wonderful labor leader. Pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. And that's from Mother Harris, Mother Jones. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here today. And so next I want to bring up Wally Al-Assadi. He is a Palestinian-American student of Middle Eastern Studies at Portland State University. He co-founded Students United for Palestinian Equal Rights. Al-Assadi has traveled to the West Bank several times and volunteered as a nonviolent resistant activist with both Palestinians and Israelis in opposition to the occupation. Please put your hands together for Wally.
Thank you. I was asked to speak today about the recent attacks on Gaza and the continued siege there. But I don't want to just focus on Gaza because there's a so-called ceasefire now, and the images of dead Palestinian children are no longer on every single news station. Israel's strategy for Gaza is to return to a slow starvation, which somehow our mainstream media seems to forget about. But the reality is that the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people did not begin this December in Gaza, and unless we can do something to change our government's policies, it will not end in Gaza. Since 1967, Israel's occupied the West Bank and Gaza, and now has over 450,000 of its citizens living in only Jewish settlements inside the same territory that disingenuously promises will be the future state of the Palestinian people. The settlements are connected by highways and roads that only Jews can drive on. Different color license plates are mandated by the Israeli governments to single out the Palestinian population from the Israeli population. Palestinian Christians and Muslims who live 10 minutes away from Jerusalem are prohibited from praying at their holy sites, while the tourists from the United States or Europe can go there and have full access. The West Bank's been divided into isolated ghettos that make it physically impossible for families and friends who were once neighbors to even visit each other. The Palestinians live at the whim of the Israeli military, with no rights or laws protecting them. Even the 1.2 million Palestinians who have Israeli citizenship are treated as second-class citizens, living in fear of mass expulsion by their own government simply because of their ethnicity. While we here in the United States participated in the historic election of our first black president, breaking new grounds in the fight for racial equality, Israel was passing a racist law that outlawed their Palestinian citizens from forming political parties and participating in the elections. Yet our government continues to blindly support Israel. While we don't have troops in the ground in Palestine, our complicity there is no less significant than in Afghanistan or Iraq. We provide Israel with $3 billion of our tax dollars in direct aid every year. That's $7 million a day, the large majority of which is military aid, which means every time a child loses his mother and father in Gaza or the West Bank, that missile says made in the USA and paid for by the American taxpayer. But our support's not only military and financial, it's also political. The United States has vetoed over 40 UN resolutions which would have forced Israel to abide by international law and end this conflict long ago. The Palestinian conflict continues to be the emotional center of the region. All anti-war groups, and we thank everybody for having us here, who are trying to end the 7-year occupation in Afghanistan and the 5-year occupation of Iraq, cannot forget about the 40-year occupation of Palestine. We must not only put pressure on our government to stop sending our troops to occupy Iraq and Afghanistan, but we have to put pressure on our government to stop sending our money and weapons to Israel as long as it occupies the Palestinian people.
Thank you so much, Wally, for those inspirational words. Now I want to bring up Johanna Brenner, who teaches sociology and women's studies at Portland State University. I know you're tired, but let me hear you out there. Are you with us? Are you sure? We want to to stop war everywhere, don't we? Yeah. We think we can spend our money better here at home, don't we? That's why we're here today. Put your hands together for Johanna. Johanna.
Thank you very much. I want to talk today about women.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the fact that women are the world's caregivers. As mothers, daughters, sisters, as friends and companions, in communities, households, and workplaces, women meet our needs and hold us together. Caregiving work is challenging, skilled work, and it can bring pleasure, fulfillment, and respect. And it should. But in a world economy organized around corporate drive for profit, in a world where working class men, and today even women, are sent to fight and die to keep land, oil, natural resources, and people's labor in the hands of corporate profiteers, women's caregiving brings powerlessness, insecurity, and fear. In a world where masculinity is defined in terms of power and control over other people and over nature, in a world where men are taught to fear dependence and vulnerability, women's caregiving brings poverty and violence. In a racist world, women of color are most vulnerable of all. Right now, a mother in a refugee camp is trading sex for food. Right now, a mother is trying to heal her daughter, raped by soldiers. Right now, a single mother is desperately trying to find the money to buy medicine for her child. Right now, a woman and her children are sleeping in a car. Right now, a woman is struggling with depression because she cannot care for all the people who depend on her. We need right now to feel and acknowledge this world of absolutely unnecessary pain and suffering. But we also need to recognize that women all over the world are fighting back. Women's caregiving work is a source of political mobilization and power. As healers, as mothers, as community members, as teachers, women are organizing for democracy. Women are organizing against the privatization of water in Detroit and in Chile. Women are organizing for reproductive health care in South Dakota and in Mexico. Women are organizing against evictions in Providence, Rhode Island, and in the rural lands of Brazil. Today, it is more important than ever that we recognize these struggles and we commit ourselves to learn about them, to lend them our support, to educate others about these issues. Let's start now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Another thing that we all should be concerned about is the erosion of our civil liberties since 9/11. It's been pretty frightening, the erosion of our civil liberties. Our call today is never again the scourge of torture. Never again secret prisons and detentions. The knock on the door in the dead of night. Those responsible for these crimes must be brought to justice. We also have to say no to scapegoating. We cannot allow our government to scapegoat immigrants in our community. We cannot allow them to scapegoat refugees in our community. Never again will we allow the scapegoating that the last administration was so fond of. I would love to, at this moment, ask you to join me in welcoming one of my heroes. Ramon Ramirez is president of PCUN, the Tree Planters and Farm Workers Union. A founding member of PCUN, Ramon was elected president in April of 1997. A native of East Los Angeles, Ramon was president of Mecca Central, a Mexican-American student leadership body at Colegio Cesar Chavez in Mount Angel, Oregon in 1975. Ramon also worked with the Willamette Valley Immigration Project from 1977 to 1985. But let me tell you a personal thing about Ramon. Ramon stands for justice for everyone. He works for justice every single day in our community. He is truly a community hero. So join me in welcoming Ramon Ramirez to the stage.
¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? Yes, it can be done. I think we are at a strategic moment in history where people power can make a difference. I was asked to speak when the war began in Iraq, in Pioneer Square in Portland. And I talked about, at that moment, all the destruction that was going to happen. The endless killing, not only of American troops, but the endless killing of working class Iraqi people. We don't even know at this time how many millions of people have been killed, working class brothers and sisters in Iraq, right? For us, I think this is a strategic moment because we can make a difference. We can make a difference not only in ending the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, but ending the war against immigrants in this country. And we will do it. We must use every ounce of strength that we have. The strength that was built in building this anti-war movement in America to defend the rights of immigrant people, immigrant workers in this country. We must use every ounce of energy, to create those buildings of alliances with that community, because if the rights of that community, of immigrants community, are not guaranteed, our rights are not guaranteed. And that's what we've seen during the last 8 years of the Bush administration. They have used the pretext of immigration to erode the civil liberties of all people living in this country. And we got to recognize that that's what's happened under our watch. But we proved that when people get together, that we can make a difference. Obama was elected because of his stance against the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Let's be clear about that. We must use that energy now to protect our immigrant brothers and sisters. This is a people who I live with day in and day out. These are people that every night when they go to bed and they kiss their children in the morning, they go to work not knowing if they're going to be back to kiss their children that evening. Is that kind of society we want to build in America? No! We got to stop that. So we need your help. Yes. We need your help. We need all of your help to create a movement that brings about change, that fixes our immigration laws, that builds a society based on equality and respect. And we can do it. We can do it. We're about to launch perhaps the largest mobilization of people fighting for comprehensive immigration reform in our history, because we're really close at winning immigration reform in this country. But we know we can't do it ourselves. We need the help of every one of you to come out. To come out, especially in this building here, and these steps, May 1st, International Workers' Day, so that we come together, immigrants and workers, women, students, we come together to fight for a common cause. Because this is not an issue about immigration. This is an issue about equality and respect. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. I'm going to just say a few words for my brothers and sisters in Spanish who are here today in support of our efforts to end the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Mira, este es un momento estratégico en nuestro movimiento. Es estratégico porque para lograr una reforma migratoria para millones de personas, millones de trabajadores agrícolas como en fábricas, mujeres como estudiantes, necesitamos el apoyo de todos. Nosotros no vamos a hacerlo solamente. Necesitamos el apoyo de mucha gente, especialmente la gente que están aquí protestando la guerra en Irak, en la guerra en Afganistán. Entonces mi mensaje hoy para todo el mundo que está presente aquí es que esperamos ese apoyo cuando llega el 1 de mayo, porque vamos a lanzar la campaña organizativa más grande en la historia del movimiento de los inmigrantes en este país. ¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? Gracias.
As my brother, I'd like to bring to the stage. Oh, my fingers are getting a little frozen, but that's okay. It's all right because we're here. Because we want to make sure that we stand up and be counted. I want to at this time bring to the stage Amy Dudley of the Rural Organizing Project, and she will let us know about the ROP State Caucus being held today and the Democratic Bailout Day being held tomorrow.
I'm just going to take a minute at a time so we can get moving and rallying on the road. I want to give a special welcome to rural Oregon out here today. And we're really lucky in this state. We've got an amazing statewide peace and justice network. There are folks here from Klamath Falls. There's folks here from Yamhill County out here with their banners. There's folks from small towns like Coquille and Irrigan and Morrow County. So we got to give it up for rural Oregon being out here and representing peace and justice across the entire state. And we're here today because the war at home and abroad, it's also in our backyards. It's in the homes of families who have joined the military, who are serving in our National Guard. It's in the families and homes of whose children are hungry or don't have a place to sleep tonight, whose libraries are closing, who can't afford their kids. It's in the lives of immigrant families in rural Oregon who are divided by borders and detention and pulled over because they don't have driver's license. And we believe if we're going to end these wars in our own backyards, we've got to stand together in solidarity with one another because we're all connected. So rural Oregonians that are here today, we aren't just rallying on the Capitol steps, we're also spending a day of strategy talking about where we go as a movement for peace and justice. And we want to invite, if there are folks here from small town and rural Oregon, this march is organized to go to the location at the UCC church a couple blocks from here. And we want to invite you to come in, have a cookie, have some coffee, and join us for that strategy, where we go as a peace movement, where we go connecting immigration and peace issues, how we build on this economic opportunity and failures of our economy to organize a stronger movement. And no matter where you're from, we want to invite you to come back here tomorrow when these doors are open. We have visits scheduled with each and every one of our legislators, and we're going to take our demands for the war at home into the Capitol, into those meetings, and let them know that this entire state is committed to ending the wars at home and abroad. So come back. We're going to be getting together at 9 a.m. tomorrow at the UCC Church, where you'll see on the stop, and join us in taking this message into the halls of power. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And so at this time, we'd like to ask the peacekeepers to go over on the stripe and convene so that we can start preparing for the march. And so to warm up your blood, to get you all hot, here's who I'm bringing up. I'm bringing up the Corvallis Raging Grannies. They're going to come up and sing for you. Yeah, they are absolutely fabulous. You may not know this, but the Raging Grannies began in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada in 1987, protesting nuclear ships in the Victoria Harbor. Now they've grown into an international movement with over 60 gaggles in many Canadian and U.S. cities, as well as a few in Europe. One does not have to be a grandmother to join, nor even be able to carry a tune. It's all about the spirit of working for justice and peace and having fun while helping create a better world. Please give it up for the Raging Grannies.
Hold on. Sing along with us on the Oregon Home Guard song. We want our voices heard. Please stand to every word. Our guard belongs at home. Their duties to perform. What is your
futures to pursue. If there are foreign needs, let others do the deeds. Keep hearts where they belong, right here in Oregon.
Hail, hail to our vets.
Raging grannies declare that you must be aware of the plight that our veterans face. Since Bush had the guts to make drastic cuts from their benefits, what a disgrace. Hail, hail to our vets. We know of the hell they've been through. For the rest of their days, they deserve more than praise. They need care and good services too. Oh, it is obscene that some wounded Marines may not get all the help that they need. That's all places mess, which adds to their stress, 'cause their benefits shank, yes indeed. Hail, hail to our vets. We know of the hell they've been through. No nurses and meds serve with hearts and with heads, but their numbers are now far too few. Oh, it's more than unkind when the body or mind or the spirit is torn in a war. Vets were made to believe they all would receive the very best care, but no more. Hail, hail to our vets. We know of the hell they've been through. So on their behalf, push for money and staff, and this goes for their families too.
One more, we're going to do the next one. I want you to watch TV. One more, just the next one, number 3.
A million died in Rwanda. I'm not sure how that affects me, but I do know about all the killing. I watched it at home on TV. The end was forced go on in Gaza, and that was suicide you see. Many innocent people are dying. I watch it at home on TV. Stop wars, stop wars. We must stop the killing right now, somehow. Stop wars, stop wars. We must stop the killing right now.
So the grannies are going to sing us along as we start the march, and the march is headed to the right. So just keep singing, grannies, and thank you so much. And I want you to know you're going to meet the buses back here to the right when the march is over. Thank you, grannies. Keep going.
Thank you. A million have died.